No.
Hmm.
I used to. Huh?
Does anybody else have the record button?
No. When I've recorded, I've always just recorded by holding my phone up.
I see a record on the bottom.
Okay. That's what I'm looking for.
I can click
If you can
please.
record it.
It says, please request record permission from the meeting host.
Okay, so I'm going to go to your name and I'm going to allow record. And you should be able to record now.
Okay. I'm recording, I think.
Oh, actually,
by the way,
it says it's recording.
Yeah, I'm recording it, but I wonder if you can record it. If you hover the mouse over the screen, do you get that frame that pops up at the bottom with like chat and all that stuff? No?
I
There's
don't.
no button that says chat.
I used to, but I don't have it now. No. I don't know
So
why.
mine disappears unless I move the mouse over the screen and then it comes on.
The mouse?
Move the mouse indicator over David.
The cursor. Yeah.
I'm on an iPad.
Yeah, so I may not be good tech support, but that's what's working for me. And there's a record button there. It worked for Doreen, so that's good. I'll then try and find a way to share it with you. But that's what I'm
You
not
put
sure.
it in you put it in Dropbox last time and it worked real well.
Oh, good. Okay, I'll try that. So, anyway.
Thank you.
So let's say you're welcome. So we have this shadow and it's taking up a big space and we don't want it to be quite so simple. We want it to entertain the eye a little bit, but not get a lot of attention.
Right.
Right. So it could be part of a sky too, right? We've got some simple area, but it just looks too flat and boring, but it really needs to sort of be that color. Okay. So we want to create a harmony out of that rather than paint it flat like wall paint. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So how do we do it? All right. So how do we do it? Well, we have to decide on a few things. We have to decide how disparate we want our colors to be that are ingredients for this color, right? And we have to understand what we're going for. So we have to have sort of a target color. So this is our target color, this is our target value, this is our target saturation, everything, right? And now we just want to come up with some other colors that will make this happen in the eye when we step back.
Okay.
That's the goal of the harmony. We're splitting a flat color into 3 or more parts. 5 is good, where we can stand back across the room and get the impact of this color and value and saturation. But when we walk up close, there's more to see than just that flat wall paint. We have a harmony. So where would we start? We start by kind of deconstructing this color so we know what needs to go into it. And the easiest way to come up with a harmony is to sort of think about it in terms of secondary colors. By making your colors as much as you can out of secondaries, you avoid the one of the problems, which is getting your yellow to be this dark, right? Another problem would be that blue and yellow have kind of nothing in common. So, and blue and red have nothing in common. They're their own independent colors, but a secondary color has something in common with every other secondary. So green and orange, for example, have yellow in common, right? So they play nicely together that way without creating any new kind of stuff like, you know, it doesn't make green when you put it together. It's just finding that space between orange and green. So, so you go to sort of a half gray when those get mixed rather than straight to a gray. So the other nice thing about using secondaries is that there are no complements of one another in the secondary family, because the complement of every secondary is a primary. If you're only playing with secondaries, you're not going to get that accidental mud. Does that make sense? You can, but you have to mix all 3.
Yeah.
You can, but you have to mix all 3 in equal proportion, right? If I take orange and green and purple in equal proportion and mix them, I will still get the gray. But no 2 colors are going to give me gray. So that's another reason to kind of stick with secondaries. So, and they just look nice together, right? They're never like automatically that garish. So, so we're going to aim for a saturation of about That's maybe 75%. Okay. So if I still have that pencil here. There it is. So our saturation level is 75%. S for saturation. Our value is about a 4.5. I'm going to call it a 5, just round up. And let's leave it at that.
David,
Yeah.
you always thought the radians were right in the middle of value range, and I downloaded the values of all the radians, and they're 7s, which really surprised me. So to me, that looks mid value.
Yeah, I think the radiants are on the light side.
Yeah, well, it says
but
they're
people-
7s.
7 maybe. Some people might use 10 as white and 0 as black.
Right, still, I thought they were around 5, so yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, I thought they were about a 3. So, but I think they're using the scale backwards from the way I use it.
Okay, so
Driving
you
on the
thought
other
they
side
were,
of the road.
you thought they were scaled, yeah, so, yeah, all right. So,
Okay. So if I take a radiant purple that I have here, and I set that on this, that's still quite a bit lighter.
right, okay,
And this is about I think about a 4.5. So that'd make that about a 3.
okay.
Okay. So I know that I've got to go darker than my radiant colors. Who wants to suggest a color that I might try and introduce into this?
I don't.
Everybody listened and nodded so attentively just a moment ago.
Transparent orange.
Oh, how about just orange, right?
Orange.
Any secondary color. That's what I'm looking for, secondary color.
So, but you're not
Okay.
gonna make mud, right? Because that's like purplish to me, so you're going to the, okay. All
It's
right,
going to be one ingredient,
all right,
just one ingredient, right?
okay.
So I need at least 3 ingredients to make my harmony. I guess I could do 2 and still call it a harmony, but ideally 3. And, you know, even 5 or 7 are good. So we may end up with quite a few of them here. And if one of them is sort of orange, that's okay. So in this mauve gray, how do we have orange in that?
Well, because
Somebody
purple,
can tell me how.
to me, mauve is purple, so it's red and blue, and that goes to orange.
Yes.
Red has yellow and, okay.
Red does not have yellow.
Well, yeah.
Doreen, is there orange in this?
Doreen
Julie, is
has
there
her-
orange in this?
She has her speaker off.
Yeah,
Sorry,
she's also, her
what did
lips
you
aren't
say?
moving.
I feel the answer is yes, but I don't know why.
Julie, is there orange in this?
In the purple?
Is there orange in this color? Yeah.
No. There's red
Huh?
in it. There's red in it.
That's not what I asked, though. Is there
No,
orange
there's
in
no
it?
orange.
Does anybody
No.
think Linda might be wrong, besides Doreen? Julia, you got to give me something here. Pick a side.
Pick a side.
In the gray,
It's
or
a
in
yes
the
or no
lavender?
question.
Well,
Oh, wait a second. Somebody's paying attention.
In the gray or
what
in
did
the
you just
lavender?
say?
Oh,
Well, what I said is in this color.
because it's grayish, then it's the opposite of blue.
And
it's
there's orange in it. Yeah.
All right. Okay. There's orange in it. because it's not 100% saturation.
Okay.
Okay. So let's say I took a green and I made it an 85% saturation. Is there red in it?
Green has yellow and
Yep.
blue.
Yeah, there's 15% red.
Thank you.
Why?
85% saturation means it's 15% red.
Oh,
The amount that's not
Okay.
green.
okay.
This
Good
is
for
an
you, Dory.
85% or this is 75% purple. This is 25% yellow.
Oh. Damn.
All right. So if I have a 90% red, is there any green in it?
10%.
10%.
Thank
In
you.
red?
Good. All right, we're
No.
there.
No, red is the primary.
But it's 90% saturated.
Oh, okay.
10% of the complement is in it.
So isn't
That's
it just really that whenever you move in from the edge of the color wheel, then you get the color, you get the other primary colors.
Complement.
That's right. The only way you can move from the edge of the color wheel is by adding the complement.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Or,
So,
yeah.
but I can add that complement in clever ways, right? So if I've got a blue and I need to add orange to it, but I add instead a green and a purple, have I added orange into that blue,
Yes.
Doreen?
Yes, 12%, 12.5% each.
Because you got yellow and orange in your greens and your, I mean, you got yellow and red in your greens and your purple.
Wow.
Exactly. So I'm putting orange in, but I'm doing it in a more clever way, right? Or I'm putting that yellow in, but in a more clever way. I'm combining it with other primaries to make the secondaries that I want, and adding those secondaries, which both have something in common, right? So that blue, I can put a green into that blue and get no mud, right? I can put a purple into that blue and get no mud. So, but if I take the green and the purple and put it into that blue, now I've desaturated that blue to some extent because I'm adding orange into it.
Okay.
But if I put orange paint into blue paint, it's just going to go dead. But if I take a purple and a green and I let them all tangle together with a blue, then I have a beautiful harmony. But it's adding up mathematically to the same saturation level. So I have a beautiful harmony instead of a flat spot of paint.
And you could do 3 as long as you don't have more than 2 on top of each other. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So like you do with
here's a way to think about grays. We have the color wheel, and at the outside edge we have 100% saturation. In the middle we have gray, right? And we can always draw a line from one spot on the color wheel to the other, and we see what the bridge is to get there, right? Or not the bridge, but like what the path would be, how gray it goes before you get across. So, so we have that. The more that our primary colors are in equal proportion to one another, the closer we are to the middle of the color wheel. So the grayer the color is. The more those 3 primaries are added in equal amounts, the closer you are to neutral gray.
Okay.
And neutral gray is the same amount. It's 33 1/3% of each one of your primaries, right?
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that was going to be a wow, but I'm glad I got it. Okay. So there we are.
So this
Now,
is good for our brains,
take-
David.
What?
This is
That's
good
for our brains.
brains.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I want to put an orange in here, but I don't want to go over to, this is mostly sort of a purple. I don't want to have too much yellow in my orange. So what's my orange going to look like?
More red.
That's right. So as long as I don't, as long as I keep my orange over more in the red family, I'm going to be able to get away with it in this as part of the harmony. Great answer, Marianne. Thank you. I'm also going to need it to be the same value, right? So let's come up with that. And I don't want too high of a saturation, right? I don't want 100% saturation red orange onto that, because I'm coming up with something that's supposed to feel like a harmonic gray. Okay. Now I will need to go a little higher in saturation than what this is. We called this 75%. I might have to go more towards 80, 82%.
Why?
Because when we stand back, the other colors are going to mix in the eye, and they're going to bring that saturation down a little bit, right? Just like if I take that,
Wait, and
green and
if you didn't do that, they wouldn't mix in the eye?
they would mix, but they would mix and bring the saturation below what our target is. Our target's 75%
And so it would look more like
saturation.
a hole. Would it
Look
look
more
like
like a
hole? Like a,
hole.
It
Yeah,
would be
whole.
lighter. It would be lighter than what you wanted.
oh, it would be lighter, okay.
No, it would be less saturated.
Okay, all right.
So if I took that blue and I took the purple and the green at the same value, and I tangled all of those together, the yellow, or the green and the red that are in the purple, right? Green and red, there's red in the purple. They're going to be neutralizing each other in the eye of the viewer from a distance. So up close, they might be at 90%, but when I stand back and they blend in with each other and they balance each other out, then it looks, to us as if we had stirred it all together. We're going to get that impact from a distance. And if you stir a green and a purple together, your saturation is going to go down because they have elements of one another's complements in them, which when combined are going to give you some gray. Not 100% gray, because neither is the perfect complement of the other. But even
I
if
am
you have
so glad
elements,
this is being recorded. Oh my God.
so here's another way to think of it. Anytime you have all three primaries in any amount coming together, you have some graying, right?
Right.
So if I just have the blue and the green, I can mix those together and there's no red in them. It will not gray down at all. It will mix in the eye of the viewer, and I'll get somewhere between a blue and a green when I stand back across the room, right? But my saturation will still be 100%.
Right.
If I take the blue and the purple and I tangle those two together, when I stand back across the room, it's going to look like a blue-violet, but there will be no graying of that.
Right.
But if I have green and purple in the blue, now I've got the element,
Red and green.
right, of the orange.
Yellow.
Right, I've got the elements of the orange, the complement of that blue, coming together, even if they're not mixed in the paint, and we still have that going on. We have high saturation up close. From a distance, as those start to mix in the eye, now we're getting the graying effect of the orange.
Okay.
So we're going to lose saturation in the optical mixing, so we have to overbuild our saturation a little bit to get
Okay.
to this color.
All right.
So how do you do that?
There's some intuition involved, right? Unless you want to do trigonometry, which I can't teach you. So how you doing on all this, Julie? You're quiet over there.
I'm okay. I'm okay.
Okay.
I am super happy this is being recorded.
Yes, absolutely. It's something that we could listen to every month.
Oh, no, more than that.
Put it on when you're falling asleep at night, and you'll just know it someday. That's what Sean is doing with The Art of War. He's got it on audio tape, and he just listens to it every night. Fascinating kid. Anyway, all right. So I need to make an orange here, but I need it to go over to the red side because I need to minimize the amount of yellow that goes into this gray violet. Yes.
Right.
All right. So we're going to do a red orange. We're going to gray the red orange down because we want it to play nicely with the other colors. So imagine that this line of this brush represents the difference, and we can think of it this way, of contrast at this end and harmony at this end. Okay, that's sort of a sliding scale. So harmony is colors that have a lot in common with one another, right? and those are going to play nicely with each other. So if you have a blue and a blue-green, you have no risk of that being garish or jarring or upsetting to the eye, right? Very harmonic, naturally very harmonic. Same with a blue-green and a blue-violet. They're close together. They're over at this end, and they're going to work really nicely together. If I take a bright orange and set it on top of there, now I'm over on the contrast end. Contrast has its place in a painting. Harmony has its place in a painting, right? But when we're talking about creating a harmony, we're going to stay over on this side of the brush. We're not going to go over to the contrasty part of the brush. So I'm not going to build my harmony out of red and green, right? I'm going to build my harmony out of a, a purple and a blue-green, those kind of things. All right. But I do need to get some yellow into this because I'm not dealing with 100% saturation, purple. So we're going to need to have some yellows in it. So we're going to sneak in something on the green side and something on the orange side. But my orange can still be a grayed down orange, and it can sit over to the red side. So if I take my orange and I scoot it over to the red side, can I gray it down with a blue? Yes, because it's still orange.
Oh, orange. Oh, okay. Okay, so you're using like a cad red as opposed to alizarin, right? Because a cad red,
I think I'm going to go.
A cad red has more orange in it.
That's right. So that's sort of a shortcut to doing that, right? So by choosing a cad red, rather than choose a red that sits over to the blue side and then add yellow into that, I could just go straight to the cad red and start mixing my orange out of that, and it's going to be closer to that orange. Why might I pick a red that sits over to the blue side to make that red orange?
Because I don't know.
Because I want to stay on this side of the brush.
Harmony.
I want to keep everything over in the harmony side, right? I want to stay away from the contrast part. And that cad red is more over here, right? Because it's more of an orangey red. So if I make my orange out of something that is a bluer red, then I can get a grayed down version of that orange. I could do it with cad red, right? I just would be adding more ingredients into the paint to get there. But that's why I might choose a red that's already over on the bluer side, and I'm getting a little bit of the harmony part of that.
But wouldn't you have to, if you're choosing a red that's already over on the bluer side, in order to gray it down, you're going to have to add things that are not harmonic, right?
Yes, but I want the total of it to be harmonic with the blue violet. So let's choose something. Let's take a look at this orange. I'm going to take an alizarin crimson.
Okay.
I'm going to do my palette work right here. I've got alizarin crimson. I'm going to bring it to about the value of that purple, so you can see it better.
By adding white.
Adding white. Yep. So there's my red that sits off to the blue side, right? A little dark. I'll lighten it. Okay. That's basically the value I'm looking for.
Okay.
Saturation's real high, but saturation's high, but that's okay for now. What we're going to do is make a little bit of an orange out of this, right? So without changing the value too much, I can add a little bit of yellow into that. If it goes a little lighter, I won't be upset about it. Which yellow would you recommend using?
Would you use a lemon?
Yellow ochre.
Yes. Yellow ochre. That's an interesting one. Why yellow ochre?
Because it has green in it and it'll take your saturation down.
I love it. Let's do yellow ochre. Do you think it will look nice with this color, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do too.
So you're already adding your green in. Okay.
Yeah. Remember, every color I add is going to have all three primaries in it, because I don't want to add anything at 100% saturation.
Okay. All right.
So you got blue, red, yellow, and green.
There we go. So by adding the yellow ochre to that, it's also a nice value for that. Look at that. What a beautiful range of color that is. Just lovely. Great call, Linda. That's my orange.
That's orange. Okay.
Pretty.
In this context,
Okay.
it's not, this isn't, I'm not pretending that's a cat orange, right?
Okay.
But it is an orange. It is more orange than anything else.
Okay.
So if we have our color wheel right here, and this is orange at the top, and this is gray, this orange sits about there. But a gray that sits halfway between gray and orange is still an orange. It's just a grayed down one.
Right.
But what a lovely grade in orange that makes.
Yeah, that is pretty.
And I'm gonna remember that. It's lovely. All right, so if the value is still right, sometimes the value changes when we add colors, but we'll take a look. That looks like it's gonna work. Let me step back.
And it's
That's
more
nice value.
saturated. It's more saturated than your purple, right? On purpose.
It is more saturated, which we needed it to be.
Right.
It's not 100% saturated. It's more like 82% saturated. And as we add in the other colors, because right now this is going to go way too orange, if we just cover the whole thing in that, it's not our target color. But as an ingredient, it could be useful, right? And beautiful. So we've got a beautiful color here. This would be a big pile on my palette, right? That I can keep coming back to. Big pile of that color. But for now, let me just spread a little of it through here. I'll cover up that light spot. And it doesn't need to be exactly the same everywhere. I can pull a little from this side sometimes and a little from this side sometimes, right? A little more alizarin in this one, a little bit more yellow ochre in the other one. And if those tangle together, even in one of these strokes, that's still beautiful. I'm going to zoom in on it.
Now, David, I agree with Linda, and it's definitely got more chroma. It's more saturated. And you want that because?
I want that because
Not saturated, and you want
going to
it.
gray down. It's going to gray down in the eye when it mixes with the other greens and stuff that we're going to put in.
Okay.
But see how beautiful, you know, an area like
Yeah, it
this
is.
already
It's gorgeous. I agree.
Yeah. Okay. So, hi, kitten. I already fed you. Go away. All right. So now we need, give me another color we're going to put in here for our harmony.
Green.
Thank you. That wasn't so hard. Doreen, how am I going to make this green?
How are you going to make the green? It's going to be, you got to desaturate it.
I'm not looking.
You got to desaturate it some. But I would start with the phthalo. Sounds pretty intense, but you'd have to really desaturate that, right?
Right. There might be a better way to make it than that.
David,
That's going to take a very clean.
the one you use is often is brilliant green, but it has phthalo in it, doesn't it?
And it's pretty light, right?
Yeah.
You want a blue green.
Yeah, but it's still.
I don't mean radiant green. I mean brilliant green, right?
Yeah, you're thinking of this color right here.
Brilliant green permanent.
No, it's a
Permanent.
Utrecht thing he uses.
Yeah, that's brilliant green is what I just put there.
Don't you want a blue green?
That's kind of blue green.
That's a pretty straightforward green.
And
Yes, I think we would want blue green, but it's also an area that we really don't want it too saturated, right? Here's what I suggest.
remind me, just from my head that doesn't remember anything, the brilliant green that you use it has other things in it. Does it have phthalo in it?
Looks like
Brilliant green is phthalo green with aerolide yellow and pink white.
Yeah.
It's what? Say it again.
Green, phthalo and yellow.
It's a phthalo green with aerolide yellow, which I don't know that one, with the zinc white.
So
So
it
it's
is,
basically
it is phthalo, right?
phthalo and white. Yeah. And that's a pretty true green. I don't know how it comes up on the camera there, but it doesn't really sit off to the yellow or the blue side too much. It's a very good spectrum green. But I'm not going to start with that because I'm not looking for anywhere near that saturation level. I can build it out of colors
Right.
that are already closer to where I'm going, and they'll not be graying each other down so much, right? And we'll
Okay.
won't have to introduce something to it. So the reason this is so beautiful together is because they're already kind of close to where we're going, both of those colors. And so that works better than taking something, that's way too bright and then add red to it to gray it down.
Okay.
I won't get nearly the same beauty in the paint,
Okay.
right? There's a lot of beauty in the paint by choosing colors that are already kind of close to where I'm going to go. So instead of starting with something that bright, what yellow might I want to try?
Well, you could try your
Yellow.
ochre.
April's yellow?
Yellow ochre would be great, right? We already know how beautiful that is, into here.
Right.
Plus, it's going to give my green something in common with my orange.
Right.
I'm going to use the same one. Okay.
So what blue will you use?
So I'm going to ask you.
Ultramarine? Or cobalt?
A lot of work.
Cobalt.
There's a lot of ultramarine kind of colors in this, right? Yeah, cobalt would do it too, but I think I might go too gray.
Doesn't cobalt go dead?
I think.
What's it
What?
cobalt? It seems like it goes dead.
Well, it depends. It will go pretty dead, I think, into the yellow ochre. But I think an ultramarine will survive into that. Let's give it a try.
Or
Do
brilliant
you mind
blue.
moving?
Brilliant blue, Mike.
Yeah, or brilliant blue. I'm going to grab ultramarine just because I've already said it. And I'm going to add some white into it, just like I did with the alizarin. Now, as I'm adding white, I already have some of this yellow ochre in the brush, so I'm seeing how it kind of builds
Yeah,
itself out here.
totally grayed it out there. Yeah.
Very, very gray, very quickly. So that may be good or not. I don't know. We'll see.
It
Probably goes too gray.
too saturated. I mean, not saturated enough, right?
Yeah, too gray.
Brilliant.
So let me turn the volume up a little bit on that and go with a brilliant. A brilliant is a mix of ultramarine and phthalo.
Phthalo.
And that's a brilliant. Now that's pretty crazy bright, but maybe not into that ochre. Let's see. That might give me about the amount of green that I want.
It's too dark.
Yeah.
It is too dark and it's still too blue. So this is going to lighten it.
What'd you put in, more ochre?
White.
More yellow ochre.
Oh, yeah.
More yellow ochre. Now I'll add white. I can do it right up against that pink so I can get a sense of the value.
It's pretty.
Yeah, but you lost some of your,
Yeah, I lost something. I don't think it's going to work. All right, now that that's not fully pulling it together, I'm going to try a little phthalo. Let's see if this is a turquoise or a green. What is that? That is a phthalo turquoise. I find that to be the deadest of the phthalos. I'm going to introduce a little of the permanent green into that with white. Oh, don't like that either. We're going to find it. That's not it. Have to go to the blue side of that.
Maybe just add
try
less of the yellow ochre to the brilliant blue you have.
he did that already.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm going to try and add a little blue into that
About Naples
That's a,
yellow with blue.
we can try it. Let me just check this value first here. Okay, that's about our value.
Not very pretty though.
It's not working that beautifully. What happens then if we put in a blue that sits a little bit to the green side? Well, that's about where we were with the brilliant. So let's try again. Maybe the brilliant with brilliant blue with the Naples, something like that.
Oh yeah. No.
I have a radiant yellow sitting out. That's close enough. I'm going to add a little bit of this into it. I should have had a bigger pile. That's okay, easy to get.
Now, what have you got, David?
Let's see. I'm looking for the blue that's just going to sing with that. And there's a lot of trial and error in it, as you can see, but I'm looking for the right saturation, the right value, and then it's just got to have that quality to it that sings. So we find that by having more in common with everything. So this is going so far off to the red side right now that green is a little problematic, but we need to have a green in there. It just needs to be a gray enough green, and it's got to have that harmony to it. Maybe our green's going to be grayer than we thought going in.
What if you used a sap with an ochre?
I bet that would be beautiful. I also think that this might work right here. Value-wise, it's probably dark still, yeah. But that color might be a nice part of our harmony. And this could be our green. Now it's very much to the blue side, but it is a green still, right? And I'm keeping it to the blue side because I want it to have something in common with all of these colors here. So it could go a hair lighter. Okay, let's see how that plays with this.
It's pretty.
Yeah, that looks okay.
I'm going to pick up some of that base color purple too and tangle that in. Move it right into this orangey ochre.
Tell me what you just said again.
I picked up a little of that base color purple just because
Oh,
I had it on
okay.
the palette. That'd be a nice way to unify things a little bit there. And to zoom in on that so you can see what we're dealing with as a harmony. But we're starting to approach something nice there. What we haven't quite gotten is this color yet from a distance, right? So here it's a little too hot, a little too warm, and over here it's too much to the blue-green side.
Right.
So, but we also we're still missing a third part to our harmony.
So we had the orange, we had the green.
Purple.
We don't have the purple.
But it already is purple though, right, David?
But we're covering that up. That was just to see what our target is.
Okay.
So, and we want it to tangle in, and also we want it to be a little higher saturation than the purple we have here, because it's going to gray down with all of that, right?
Okay.
So we need a slightly higher saturation purple at the same value. And this purple, we might try and build it out of some of the colors that we have here, right? So I know I've got an alizarin crimson there. I might try and do an alizarin crimson off of a, let's to, I think I ended up using sort of a turquoise blue for that. Let's see if we make alizarin crimson and turquoise blue purple, what we get with that.
That would be pretty.
I think so. We could go with a cobalt there too, probably, but it might be a little too saturated. So we'd have to, you know, add something to it,
I
like a
appreciate
cat.
David, I have to take off. I have to go pick my brother up from surgery.
Well, I hope it
Oh,
went
okay.
well.
Pardon?
I hope it went well.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
You be safe.
I will. You too.
Yeah.
Nice to see everyone. Sorry I have to leave.
That's
I'm
all
glad
right.
it's
Take
over.
care.
Bye, Doreen.
You'll be able to watch
I
it
love
online.
seeing what you're doing.
I might leave this on.
I saw,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Record the whole
There you
thing.
go. Good. I'll keep in mind that you can hear everything we're going to say about you.
I saw your haystack painting on the scape thing. Looked nice.
Who are you talking to?
Doreen.
She's
She's
already
gone.
gone.
Okay. Just going to put some fresh white out. We'll do a couple of these, okay?
I feel like we lost our orange.
We can keep coming back and playing with that. You'll see how it works. So I'm just going to lighten up this red. This is made out of cadmium and alizarin. So it's a little bit grayed down right from the start.
Because the CAD has the, yeah, okay.
Has that orangey kind of quality to it.
Orange.
Yeah.
Still a little bit dark. All right, somewhere in between there. Not there. All right. I got to find a blue to go with that. So I'm going to take, let's see. Let's try ultramarine since it's already, we tried that once. We failed. We'll try it again. I'm just adding white into it, but I didn't clean my brush in between. So I've got that red in there. I'm doing it on the palette, but I'm ending up right here with that. It's a little to the gray side and it's a little dark. So I'm just going to add white to it. And I'm going to try a little bit of dioxazine, just freshen it up.
You're going to try a little bit of
Okay.
what? Dioxazine. Okay.
Dioxazine, just to freshen it up. A little dark, but I like the color.
It's interesting. You kind of sneak up on the colors. So yeah. All right.
Yeah, because I don't know what color I'm going for exactly. I kind of have to see it, right? But I understand that as they mix together like this, you know, part of what's going to make them work, some colors work better than others. But until I see all of that together, I'm still kind of guessing at where I'm going to be, right? So that's my purple now. I'll zoom in on it.
Beautiful.
Okay. Now I'll try and dance that through the rest of these things. And I've got piles of all this color, so I can just keep playing with it.
Well,
As Linda
David,
said, you know, we're
David,
losing. Yeah.
I will say that it is beautiful, but it no longer looks like your base color, which I thought was your intent.
So that's what we're just about to do. All right.
Okay.
Because right now, so far, we haven't tried to figure out how to get all of these in exactly the proportions that give us this.
Right.
But we're about to.
Okay.
So you're not wrong.
You're not trying to go for that color, you're trying to go for that value, is that right?
I want to go for this color and value, but I want this to mix in the eye.
Okay.
So up close, we're going to have a harmony, and across the room, it's going to look like this.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to take, this is our third part of our three-part harmony, and I'm just moving it in among these other things here. And anywhere where it looks kind of too orange, you know, I balance it off with some of this. And then when I'm doing that, I'm picking up some of that green. I'm going to move some of that green and purple over a spot that looks too hot, right? Too orange. So, and anywhere that's, you know, I can go back in and make that orange again, because I need to have piles of all these colors. So that orange was alizarin crimson and white with yellow ochre. It was beautiful. Just going to repeat it. Probably too dark right here. A little dark. A little hot.
So why are you doing it this way as opposed to scumbling, David?
How many weeks do you want this to take? I can't really scumble too much over wet paint, right? So, but I can
okay.
tangle into it really.
Be careful of
Okay.
that.
If this was a real painting, why would you choose one method over the other?
Good question.
Well, you want a variety of, you know, you want to have the ability to do all of it, right? So you can just choose, you know, for style. I can say, you know, I want it to feel scumbled and worked over here, and I want this one to just feel like alla prima. It's just a different look, right? Just
Okay.
like if I do it with a bunch of little marks rather than one big, you know, squeegee mark or a big house painting brush. Those are just different ways to make these harmonies. So the tool I'm trying to give you is how to understand turning a flat color into a harmony. And then there'll be a lot of different ways to set down that stroke and let it all tangle together, right? That's a whole other, we spend a year just talking about that. So I just picked one. And I picked one that's real easy and fast to do. So if I zoom in on this now, you can see I've created a harmony there. But from
Yeah.
across the room, that is starting to look just like that color.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's so much
So the
prettier.
experience is that we've still got our lavender there from across the room, but when we come up to it, we have all those surprises going on. And they're all beautiful together.
All right.
So wild, isn't it?
So that's a three-part harmony. Once we have that, we can start to play with it a little bit more if you wanted to. So we could take something maybe like a quinacridone and gray it down a little bit, make it the right value, and see what it looks like to move a little quinacridone through this and see if that adds to the harmony or whatever. Or we could try the same thing with a green that's just a little more saturated and just dance it through a little bit in little flecks and see if that picks it up in a way that you like or if it gets too contrasty. And we just tweak all of those kind of things, right? As I make the orange, like, you notice I ran out of that orange and I remade it.
Right.
The next time I remake it, I might try, instead of yellow ochre, I might add a little transparent yellow into it so that there's a little difference in my oranges as I move across that area of the painting, right? There's a difference in my greens. Sometimes they go a little more to the cobalt side of green, and sometimes they might go to the transparent warm orange side of green. I can play with those little bits as I move through this harmony and keep it exciting and fun. So it doesn't have to be just, you know, really mechanically 3 different colors to make this.
And when
But
you do,
once
when you do this though, from a distance it looks one way and from a close-up it looks another way. Are you, I know that it's beautiful, but have you broken up? Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what my question is, but I'm wondering if you're breaking up what you're depicting. I guess you are in a way, but it doesn't matter because, okay, I'll work it out in my head.
this is impressionist color theory.
Okay,
It's not revolutionary in any way, right? It's it was 120 years ago, but it's not now.
right.
Yeah.
You're worried about it changing the shape of the item?
Right, or changing the look of the item or what, yeah. But that's okay. Sometimes you need to
Well,
and sometimes
so
you
what we
don't.
were talking about here is we've got like a flat area of canvas of color, right? Sometimes there's a flat area, and it could be a sky where you just want to bring a little more interest to it. It could be
Right.
just a big flat shaft where you want to throw a little bit of brushwork into it. Because sometimes,
Wait,
you
I'm
okay, Mary?
losing everything.
Okay, I'll wait a second because this is for you too.
Thank you, I lost my ear things. Okay. Are you talking?
Yeah, so you have an area of a flat area of paint in your canvas that you want to add a little activity and energy and harmonic into, so that you don't have just a big simple shape, right? You have a simple shape that's kind of fun to look at and that the viewer can engage in. So that's a great place to use something like this. You know, your meadow might be a perfect place for something like this, right? Because it's just a big shape of color, but this lets you add a little texture to it. You can turn it into grasses. Right? And it would work equally well for the sky where you have that glow coming off of the moon. You'd have a value shift going on in this, right? Which makes it harder, but still it's the same theory.
Could I do it in the light
over
part of the lawn?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what would I do?
But you're doing a lot of it, right, Linda? You're doing a lot of optical mixing in your painting. If I look at just the concrete in the sun, you have all those shadows going on, or not shadows, but all those colors going on within that shadow, where it's not going to be a shadow, but anyway, right now it is. And you have a variety of colors that are doing optical mixing in there. And when
But I
look at your
didn't do
trees
anything with the lawn. It's just pretty much straight.
right, but if I look at your trees in the distance, you're layering and scumbling color in there, so it's mixing in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
So you're doing it. You're doing it in all of your paintings, really, not just this one. I've seen you, really play with that. But where I think struggle sometimes is finding that perfect harmony. So you're getting the colors to go together, but sometimes they're, they're kind of fighting each other a little, rather than be on the harmonic end of things. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Bill just answered the phone and I couldn't hear you. Tell me again.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. But I think in your paintings, you're doing a lot of this optical mixing, and you've been doing it not just in this painting for quite a few of them, right?
Uh-huh.
And I don't think you struggle with the concept of building a color out of optical mixing. I think your struggle more is finding a really beautiful harmony every single time.
Yes. Yeah.
So sometimes you're building that color out of different colors and mixing it in the eye, and you're getting the end result you want as far as what your target color is. But sometimes you miss on getting that really lovely harmony.
Right.
And so I think it's about, kind of backing up and deconstructing your target color and spending some time, like that green for me was tricky on this one. The first couple greens I tried, I didn't love them as harmonies on this. So it's staying with it and tweaking things until you really find that one that works, and taking that extra time with that. And that's for me, and I go faster at this stuff. You have to expect it to take longer with you.
Mm-hmm.
But if it takes you an hour to find your 3-part harmony, okay, the first time it takes you an hour, the next time it takes you 40 minutes, the next time it takes you 35 minutes, and after a while you start getting it down for your more common colors. You still may end up spending an hour on something if it's a really important painting and it's a harmony you haven't had to make before. There's nothing wrong with spending an hour trying to figure out your colors. It's one of the most important things you're going to do in that painting. So an hour is not that big of an investment, you know. But spending that time, you know, trying to figure out what colors are really beautiful as a harmony that still add up to your target. That's a lot of the palette work that is so beautiful when we look at something like what Dan Pinkham does, for example. He's great with that. Dan will spend all day trying to figure out, spend a week trying to figure out that perfect little harmony for the bush off in the distance. But when we look at the painting, we go, wow, the colors really sing in that. It's because he's taking that time. He's doing his work with theory and trying to, you know, figure out what those are. He also has developed a great vocabulary with color where he has been doing that for enough years that it's becoming more fluidly and more fluid and natural for him at the time.
The other
So we're
thing,
just starting that process maybe, but by starting the process, there's a lot of growth that will come from that. Yeah.
the other thing that I think that I don't take enough time with is the transitions. You know, I get a lot of different colors,
Yeah.
but it doesn't go in a transition.
Yeah, although I'm seeing that happen more in your paintings all the time. Like I see you thinking about those transitions in this painting.
Yeah.
You know, and I saw it in the last one as well, where you're thinking about, you know, let's go to this painting for a second, as long as we're talking about it. It's still up on my screen, so.
And what could I do? What would be harmonic colors in that green, that bright green? So it's yellow and
so here's another
blue.
thing I really wanted to get to before we get to that. Let's take a look at the values in here, right?
Uh-huh.
The optical mixing doesn't really happen when you have different values going on, right? Optical mixing happens when you have the same value on both parts. So this isn't really optical mixing. This is scumbling a light lavender over basically a blackish green, right?
Right. Uh-huh.
So that's scumbling without really that optical mixing with the vanishing edges effect. Vanishing edges, again, just to recap here, when you have two analogous colors or similar colors that are the same value and you have that line between them, up close you can see the line where they come together. But you step back across the room and that line gets lost. And let's say you have a blue violet and a red violet, and up close you can see, okay, that's a square of blue violet and a square of red violet. We put them together. When you step back across the room, you have a square, one big square, but this one looks more blue violet on this side and more red violet on this side, but you can't see the line in the middle when you step back. That's an effect called vanishing edges, and it's one of the building blocks of impressionist color theory, okay? Without those vanishing edges, we don't have optical mixing in the same sense, right? And that's where those sweet harmonies come in. And you'll see Dan use that a lot, those vanishing edges. You see me use it a lot. You see Eric Merrill use it, but he likes to tweak it a little bit with a slight value change so that you see the brush stroke. And you know, that's just another way of expressing some of the same theory, but it's without the vanishing edges. He does both, but a lot of times he likes to play with sort of spots of value too that happen within his paint.
The reason I did that violet
more than
that's a purple vine that goes down the tennis court fence. So that's why I added that. But it's not reading that way, I guess.
Oh, this here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so it's purple flowers. So you have two different values that you're trying to show in the shadow. Uh-huh. Yeah, it's not reading for me totally. So, but you know, this area, we could look at this as a transition opportunity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's maybe a little warmer here and a little cooler here, whatever it is, you know. And you have opportunity to do that everywhere in here, you know. Yeah.
So what would I add to the green lawn? What would be a good color harmony with that?
Oh, right. So as we get into the higher saturation colors, we have less opportunity to build it out of secondary colors, right? Because we don't have as much of the gray to play with, and the gray is what gives us that freedom to introduce other colors into our target color. Because of that gray, we can spread out and add other things in and create a harmony. As you approach 100% saturation, you're losing opportunity to build harmonies in. And that's one of the reasons that harmonies are a really great thing to do in a shadow, because you're not dealing with something 100% saturation. Where you have real strong light, you'll find there's not really a way to do a lot of harmony in that, although it's not a bad place to put a transition, right? So you might go from a little bit bluer to a little bit yellower, and you might go from a little bit darker to a little bit lighter, and you might go, you know, whatever like that. But you don't have a lot of room to bring in like an orange into, you know, into your bright blue. If you want to keep your blue at close to 100% saturation, you can't have a lot of green and purple going on, because that will gray it down in the eye, right? So here you've got a yellow green at a very high saturation. I'll go back to show the screen. Very high saturation in a place like this, but even this is very high. You have room to go from the more yellow ones to the bluer ones, and you're doing that. But if you want to keep the saturation that high in an area like that, you're not introducing, you know, a lot of pinks and oranges and purples, anything with red in it. So, you know, you can go to that blue to yellow range and still stay in 100% saturation, but as soon as you start going to the green-yellow range, or sorry, the orange-yellow range, you start losing your saturation, right?
Okay.
And as soon as you start going to the red or blues in that, you start losing saturation.
So it's
Now,
hard
it's okay
to
if
do
you want to lose some saturation, but that saturation is important to showing the strength of the light, right? So better then to let this be a little bit flatter, or have transitions in it that don't lose saturation, and create a harmony in your shadow.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Now your sky up here is about 92% saturation. You have a little bit of room with that. You know, not a lot, but you could drop some, you know, subtle lavenders like you've done in here and get away with that, and some subtle, you know, areas where it goes a little bit to the greener side. And that's going to keep you at that 92%, because it's a very blue lavender and it's a blue green, and they're not really mixing side by side. There's clean blue in between those two, right? So that's what you can kind of get away with in a high saturation harmony right there.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Should we do another color? See how we do?
Sure.
Okay. What color do we do? What do we want?
Lavender.
Anybody?
Why don't you do the yellow field that Marion had in her painting?
No, I was thinking of gray-green, like she had.
Gray green then.
All right. Sorry for this noise. Very good. That's what we did yesterday. I'll do it again.
Well, I can't even see any different colors in that one, David. That just looks
I
like,
scraped it off.
oh, so it wasn't a flat green area?
No, at the beginning of the class, it was a harmonic. I scraped it off so I could paint over it. All right. So we'll come up with a target color. This is a very textured board, which is why I can't really rub it off. I'll just shred this paper towel. I love this board. Good stuff.
Oh, I love
It's not the same. I'll do this again for you.
How's Chris doing?
you see his painting? He got into the CAC show.
Yeah, I did.
No,
Yeah, I liked it.
what is it?
Seagulls at the beach.
The one that we saw from like a year ago?
No,
Yeah, I
a year ago?
think so.
I think he's gotten better in the last year. I wish he'd put something new in.
Yeah.
Oh, this was pretty newish looking. I don't think it's the same one, Julie, as a year ago.
No?
Oh, I'll take a look at it. He's traveling right now with Kelsey.
Is he? Where is he?
Where is he?
They're doing Pacific Northwest. They're doing Northern California and Oregon, I guess.
Yeah, I think he's got a bunch of friends up there, so.
That doesn't sound like what we should be doing right now.
I know, but I think they're thinking that maybe they want to move.
So I got a telephone call from a friend of mine today who said, "Where's Bill?" I said, "He's at physical therapy." And she said, "He's not wearing his mask."
What?
She said, "He's not wearing his mask." So I called the place and they said, "Yeah, well, we made him put one on." So poor Bill can't even get away from me when I'm not with him.
Well, he shouldn't be getting away with that.
I know, he just forgot, I guess.
Well, I'm not surprised they'd make him put one on. I'll say that.
No.
All right. So gray green. That'll be easy to do. Everything I do with ultramarine is turning to gray anyway. So I'll do ultramarine and lemon yellow.
Why do you say that's gray-green?
It is. Try it. Just ultramarine doesn't, it's not like a phthalo kind of saturation. It's a much earthier pigment. And with the more earthy pigments, as you mix them, they lose saturation more quickly, right? So your opaque colors, like your mineral-based colors, like ultramarine, and like cadmium.
I actually thought ultramarine was transparent. No?
No, they'll call it translucent sometimes, but it is it's based on ground up mineral, right? You ladies will know what that color is called. They make jewelry out of it.
Lapis?
Lapis, that's it.
Oh,
I just emailed you Chris's painting.
Oh, good. I'll take a look. I'm looking for my ultramarine. There it is.
semi-transparent.
Semi, yeah. It sort of falls in the middle.
Well, because I remember back in the days of Mission Renaissance, that was one of the colors they used for glazes.
Uh-huh. But it's not like a phthalo, which is a transparent. That's going to hold up much better to mixing into the greens, right? So,
Okay.
So this is just lemon yellow with ultramarine blue, and it is not at all bright green. I can add more yellow to that. If we want it greener. So that's what you get. It grays down real easily into the greens. So it kind of mixes almost a little more like a purple ultramarine. So as you make a green out of ultramarine, it's automatically kind of a grayish green.
Huh. Okay.
That's why we love to have like a phthalo you know, so you can make a really bright green. Just so we can get a sense of, on camera here, the difference in saturation. I'm going to take like a little phthalo green. I don't have one out. I'm going to take a phthalo blue instead of ultramarine and add that lemon to it. And I get this.
Yeah.
Much higher saturation. That's a little lighter value, but still, you get the sense of it. Just much, much fresher color. Higher saturation. So, but that's why we didn't choose that, right? So we got the ultramarine so that it's already a little bit grayed down. So this is our target color, the bottom part. I'll take this one off. And then this, that becomes our target color right there. So let's build it. Who wants to go first?
So you want to go
Julie,
with
been
the,
quiet.
Well,
No, go
blues,
ahead, Mary.
right?
what did you say,
Sorry?
Linda?
You want blues and yellows, right? You're making it out of blues and yellows?
Well, we're going to make it out of secondary colors.
So purples and oranges.
Always we're going to, purples, oranges, greens, right? So we're going to have a purple, an orange, and a green every time we do one of these harmonies. This is a starting point. You will go beyond it. But when I tell you, oh, how about taking that flat color and make a harmony out of it, and you don't know where to begin with secondary colors and break them down.
But you said deconstruct the color first, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got blue and yellow and blue.
You're deconstructing the color, yes, but there's also red in that green, right?
Because it's not such, yeah, because it's not 100%. Okay.
Right. So blue and yellow is not deconstructing the color. That's just telling me what the dominant primaries are in there.
Okay.
But let's see, what's the saturation level of that? We can call it probably 75%, similar to the last one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 25% of that is red.
Red. Okay. So then you're orange and purple.
Right. So maybe I'll add about 12% of the red in the orange and 12% in the purple. Okay. So if my purple.
Wait a minute. You're going to add 12% of red to the orange?
Yes, and 12% to the purple. That's going to give me about 25% red, which is what this is made of. Yeah? Yes?
Okay.
That's
Well, show me.
a quicker way to get to the proper saturation, right?
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that's what we need. It doesn't matter how quickly necessarily, right? I guess, but we need to get to something that is about 25% red, and about then what's left, another 75%. So about another 37% blue and 37% yellow. That's pretty much what we're dealing with, right?
Okay.
Okay.
I think you've totally lost me now. You're going to have to show me.
That's exactly my plan. All right.
So can you actually add those quantities if you're using out of the tube paint?
Yeah, I mean, this goes by feel,
Relationship.
Right? But that's the science behind it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. You're just suspiciously quiet today, Julie. I want to make sure that you're actively engaged in this class.
I'm following you.
You're doing better than me, kiddo.
So,
Well, when I process this, I don't process in percentages like you are.
okay.
But, I'm following what you're doing.
You picking up what I'm setting down?
Yeah.
All right.
I think what I'm recognizing is that it takes a lot more time to do this. And when I speed through this process, there are many times I'll look at a color harmony and I go, oh, that's not right. But I continue. I don't stop myself and correct it like you do, you know?
Yeah. Please don't.
Yeah, I mean, the thought of spending hours and hours and hours figuring out a color harmony just really doesn't occur to me.
I don't think it occurs to most people, but that's why when we look at someone who really does beautiful color, we look at John Asaro, we look at, Soraya, we look at Pinkham, we look at, anybody who's great with color, we go, wow. Well, those are the people that think it's important to spend all that time mixing.
Yeah, I see the difference. I see it, but it just doesn't occur to me to spend that amount of time doing that.
Yeah. And again, it's a lot of time at first, but the more years you spend doing it, of course, it gets a lot faster, right?
Right.
So Dan's not spending, 4 hours every time he needs to come up with a harmony. He's got it down like the back of his hand, right?
Right.
Although once in a while, he might want to say, I want to get outside of my comfort zone. What?
That's also why there are many times that we look at one of Dan's paintings and say, oh, he's just repeating a color harmony he did in this other painting. To keep it, to keep it alive is a lot of effort, a lot more effort than I've certainly put into my paintings.
Right, and sometimes you'll see a painting that Dan does, for example, where he's reached outside of his comfort zone. He's trying newer harmonies, and I find it exciting when I see those paintings, to see what he came up with.
Right.
And as much as I love his traditional harmonies, where he does that dusty lavender with the ochre green, it's so beautiful, and I love to see it. But I also love when he, breaks out and throws in his orange and hot pink harmonies and drops a little, cad green in with that. It's really beautiful, but it's more outside of his comfort zone. He's getting more daring, more daring and experimental with those harmonies, and they're really beautiful. And I'm sure those take him more time, right? He can do that dusty rose color with an orangey ochre all day long, and it takes him no time at all to put that together.
Yeah.
But when we look at something like the sky he did on that kayak piece, right? The first kayak piece that had the moon coming up and that reflection right over the kayaker. You look at the color harmonies in the sky in that, it's a 15-part harmony, and it is magnificently worked out. Now, he took time with that. He's not just throwing color down, you know? A 15-part harmony takes anyone a lot of time.
And that's the difference between somebody who's just doing, oh, they can draw or they can paint and look at that and not very interesting, or it looks flat or something, and someone that stops everybody to stand in front of the painting and you go, wow, it's not that they're painting a different tree or a different sky than all of us are painting. It's how they're using their color to do it. Right.
And we could all end up with a sky, like the sky that Dan had is essentially a gray orange. You could paint like, if I might post this, so I won't keep naming names, but some people in California Art Club would just paint a gray orange sky there. And some people might turn it into a 3-part harmony, but Dan turns it into a 15-part harmony, and his 15 colors are more beautiful than 15 colors that somebody else might use. Right. Because they work better together, because he crafted them and he has an understanding about those things, and he has all that experience and all that talent. He's able to put those harmonies together in a way that is more dazzling than if you didn't break it into that big complex harmony. And it's exciting, and it's valuable. It's sophisticated.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just really comes down to the fact that, I see little point in pushing out painting after painting after painting after painting. There's an awful lot of okay art out in the world. And that if I want to do something that has value, I have to spend some time and effort doing it.
Yeah. Okay, so here's where we begin. So that's our target color. And Julie, if you were going to break that down into a harmony, what would you start with?
Which one are we
How would you
doing?
start?
The gray-green.
We're doing this gray-green right here.
Well, you know, greens, I tend to the violets and the blues with my greens. But I think there's also, you know, the place to use oranges. I'm less comfortable with that.
We are creating a harmony that will deconstruct this green so that our harmony becomes that green from across the room, right? Let's say we're looking for a three-part harmony because we're starting simple, right? So what's the easiest three colors I can use to make that green?
I would use blue and yellow.
Even after I said every time you make a harmony, do it out of secondary colors?
I know, but knowing you're asking me what I would do, and I would do blue and yellow.
I'm asking what, well,
How about yellow
I'm
ochre
asking
and
you again
Elizabeth?
then.
I'm
How about
sorry?
yellow ochre and Elizabeth?
I didn't hear you, David. What?
You're going to make a three-part harmony. You're going to make this green out of three colors. What are the three
Then
colors? And you don't even need to see the green.
I would probably add some ochre in there. But yeah, I mean, my go-to is a variety. I have a lot of different blues, and I would use one of the blues and a yellow. I mean, that is where I would start.
Marion, what three colors would you use to make that green?
Okay, you've got, and we're looking at,
Too hard already.
Purple,
Linda, what
orange,
three colors?
purple, orange, and green.
right,
Thank you, Linda.
right.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Every time we start this exercise, that's the answer I'm looking for. We're going to build it out of secondary colors. So what three
Right.
colors are we going to make that green out of?
Purple, orange,
Julie?
and green.
Orange and green.
Purple, orange, and green. What color are we going to make that blue out of? Purple, orange, and green. What color are we going to make that purple out of? Purple, orange, and green.
Purple, orange, and
The
green.
same every time.
Okay,
We're going to build it out of secondary colors. It's the easiest way to make a three-part harmony. Okay, now that we know the three colors are purple, orange, and green, which one do you want to start with, Julie?
Purple.
There you go. That was easy, right? Okay. So purple, we have to be careful about adding too much what into this?
Red.
We have to be careful. Linda, you took your smart pills today. We have to be careful of adding too much red into that, okay? So our purple then is going to lean to which side?
blue.
Thank you. Okay. So we're going to do a blue violet at about that saturation, just a little bit higher saturation, and exactly that value.
I'm still totally unclear as to why the saturation has to be higher if you're trying to make it disappear into that color.
Good. Okay. So if we have, let's see, this is saturation of, we call that 75%. Okay. So we want to get 75% saturation. If I put a 75% saturation purple with a 75% saturation green with a 75% saturation orange, what saturation am I going to get when those mix in the eye?
75%.
Let's say I put them.
No.
Let's take a no. Let's say I put them in equal proportion, right? So I have 75% orange. A third of my mix is that. A third of my mix is 75% violet, and a third of my mix is 75% green. What percent saturation, assuming it's an equal proportion, what percent saturation do I get from across the room?
You're going to lower it because you've got the complementary colors in there.
I'm going to lower it to what? If I take the three secondaries and then I tangle them together so in the same proportion from across the room, what saturation do I get?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Julie?
I don't know the percentages, but yeah, you'd lower it because you've got your primaries in there.
I
So
want
what is-
somebody to tell me the percentage.
Don't know.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't even know how to figure it.
Marion, no?
No, I don't get it.
0. You
Oh,
get 0.
because you have 0%, so
We're
what,
taking-
it looks black?
We're black or a lighter version of that, depending on the value we're mixing at. Look, if we take 3 secondaries and mix them in equal proportion, we're taking 3 primaries and mixing them in equal proportion, are we not?
Yeah, and then you've got mud.
You have a neutral gray. You have 0% saturation. So if we take 3 75% saturation
Oh.
secondaries, mix them together, we
Okay.
get 0% saturation.
Okay, all right.
That's why we have to go a little higher.
But
Okay.
not with all of them, right?
We're going to go higher with all of them.
But if you go higher with all of
Now
them,
we
don't
might,
you 0?
well, for simplicity's sake, I'll say that. But if we get into trying to build a primary out or a harmony out of blue, let's say we had a primary color like blue, and we've got 80% saturation. I can't take my 3 secondaries and give you an 85% saturation if my orange is 85% saturated, right? I'm going to have, remember that line on the brush that goes from contrast to harmony? If I add in an 85% saturation orange into my blue, I'm way over here on the contrast side and far away from the harmony side of my color theory.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say that we're always going to put the saturation higher, but we have to keep in mind that they don't balance each other out and bring it down below the saturation we're looking for.
So if you
Right.
stay away from the complementary colors side of it, then
So that orange I use, I might have to break that orange into a red that sits with that blue, right? So that's gonna be a purple, and the yellow to a yellow that sits with that blue, and that's gonna be a green. I might have to put my orange in only through purples and greens. And I'm still putting orange in, but because I'm keeping a primary color to a high saturation level, I may not want to take the complement and put it right in with all of that. I may want to split that complement and move it over into the purple and green families, and then create my harmony. My 3-part harmony might be blue, purple, and green. To get
so
that
as long
through.
as you're,
Right.
as long as you're, you could have the same saturation of all 3 colors as long as the complement wasn't in there. Is that right?
I'm laughing at Marion's expression, but yes, you know, we're going to always end up, unless we're at 100% saturation, we have some of the complement in there, right?
Right.
So if we're below 100% saturation, all 3 primaries, which is just another way of saying all 3 secondaries are in, right? And the more we add primaries in equal proportion to one another, the more we go towards 0% saturation. Likewise, the more we add secondary colors together, the more we go towards 0% saturation. Which is why these colors are going to gray each other down a little bit in the eye, because they do contain elements of one another's complement in them. So I'm going to have to oversaturate them for this harmony in order to get a more neutral color from a distance.
So as long as you stay on the purple side, I mean on the blue side of the purple and on the yellow side of the orange, you're okay for this green.
Excellent. Let's
Okay.
try it. How you doing, Julie?
I'm good.
Marion?
I'm hanging in. I'm going to be watching this. I'm going to be watching this over and over and over and over again.
Good. I hope so. And I'm going to post this on Masterclass because I think it's maybe a nice thing for everybody to be able to see. So let's try and get to this. We have got a green. What was the first color we were going to do, Julie?
Green.
Blue, no, she wanted a violet.
Oh, I wanted a violet.
Okay, let's try it. So let's mix our purple here. we're going to do, I'm going to choose a blue that can go well into the green side. I'm going to choose this brilliant blue. It's a true blue, but I can green it really easily without it graying down too much, right? And since I want a fairly high saturation of at least maybe 80, 82% to get to that 75, I want something that's going to play nicely in that higher range of saturation. That's why I went with the brilliant blue. Is that clear with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's harder for me to figure out the percentage because I'm not used to thinking of it that way.
Yeah, the percentage is an abstract. to
I
me.
won't ask you to ever be accurate on percentages, but sometimes I feel like saying a percentage out there, even if it's a suggestion of one, helps clarify the concept.
Right.
Yeah, it does for me. Even if it's not an accurate percentage, just understanding the theory of it is helpful.
Yeah.
Right.
Because then we're still guessing, and you know, the only way I can tell if I've got my primaries in equal proportion when I go to make a gray is to look at the color I got and then go, oh, it's too much to the blue side or it's too much to the orange side. So I'm guessing at percentages. If my guesses were 100% accurate, I get a perfect gray every time. They're not 100% accurate, but understanding the theory helps me get there, even with my wild guesses. Okay.
At the end of this, after you're all finished, I emailed you what I think you were talking about with Dan Pinkham's painting, and you can talk about that just before we sign off,
Great.
please.
I'd love to. I hope we have time to get to all that.
Yeah, maybe
Checking that
not.
for value. I like that value. Okay.
Because it's a
So
little
let's
bit,
change it. Huh?
because it's a little bit darker, right? A little.
No, looks good to me, but I put this stroke on sideways and these are vertical, so it may be catching the light a little different.
Oh,
but
I
think
see.
that's
I
going to
didn't.
work.
Okay, it's just it is good for you because I didn't realize you'd actually put it on top of the green. So yeah,
Oh, yeah.
can't even see it. Okay.
Okay, good. I'm going to add some yellow ochre into that. Let's see what happens to the value of it, among other things. All right. I got a blue-green. I got a, oh, that's right. Sorry, wrong
That's
one.
okay. I just wondered how you were going to get there from there.
I can't. Okay, let me grab alizarin crimson with some white. I'm going to just mix this on the palette. We're getting into the later minutes of class, so I'm going to make sure I keep going. Let's check that with that blue value. It's a little light.
Pretty though.
That's it. Now, that got a little darker when I mixed the red and blue together, right? Even though they're both light, as I mix them together, I'm reflecting back a smaller percentage of the light that hits that spot of paint. Remember, every color subtracts all the color out of that, all the light out of that spectrum except for the one it reflects. So
Right.
I've got the blue that's reflecting back 30% of the light that hits it, and I've got a red that's reflecting back 30%, but it's not the same 30%. Now I've reduced that again by another 10%, so it's 10% darker now. So for the ingredients, we may want to keep an eye on, is that getting too dark all the time?
Because of the
That's
green?
still pretty close.
I didn't understand that,
Just
David.
because it's not actually because of the green, it's just, it gets a little darker because we're reflecting back a lower percentage of the light.
I don't understand that.
We're subtracting more. Okay, so if this blue right here, the reason it's not as light as this white is because it's absorbing all the light that isn't blue and then
Oh, okay. I got it. Now
bouncing,
I know what you're saying.
bouncing back all the blue.
I got
The
it.
red is doing the same thing, and as I introduce them together, they start working together to subtract out more of the spectrum.
Okay.
Okay. So may have to add a little white in with that violet is what I'm getting at. And that's normal. And then I test it right here. Boom. Perfect. All right. So that's one of my ingredients. So we'll build that right here. One of our ingredients. That's purple. What else are we going to do?
Orange.
Julie?
Orange.
Thank you, Linda.
But a
Hello?
yellow orange.
Purple, green, and orange.
There
But
you
a
go.
yellow orange, right? So you don't have too much red?
A yellow orange. Yeah, yellow orange, and it's going to be desaturated, so it has something in common with all the blue in this green. There's a lot of blue in that green, right? So if I put on a high saturation orange, it's going to be over at this end of the brush at the contrast end, not over at the harmony side. So this is a situation where I may need to desaturate that orange a little bit in order to get the harmony I want. All the more reason that I need a higher saturation in some of the other places. Okay. So I'm going to add maybe a little green into that orange. I'm doing a cadmium green. That's a way to get blue into it, right? But also keep it very yellow. It's going to be too light. So I'm going to darken it with a little bit of a phthalo green.
What did you start with?
What did I start with? Yellow ochre. I've added
And then you
phthalo green in
added,
now.
you did yellow ochre and you
That's-
added alizarin crimson. Is that what you did?
Yes.
Okay. And then you added phthalo
Green.
green.
To desaturate.
A little phthalo green because I needed to darken it.
Oh,
So
darken.
when I darkened it, let's see if you can see this. It disappears into that purple pretty well, but you see it there?
Isn't that
Yeah.
going to be a gray color, not a green?
We're going for gray green.
It's a green, but yes, a gray green.
Okay.
It's a little bit off too much to the yellow side, I think, with that purple, but let's try it. Everything's going to look yellow on the purple, so I'm going to set it here into the green. It definitely feels a lot oranger on the green than it does on that purple, right? It's beautiful either way, but if I add a little bit of, let's say, quinacridone into that, just for effect,
Yeah.
see what happens there.
Might look prettier on the purple. Yeah.
Yeah, I might find a better harmony there. This is a very, very neutral orange, right? Very neutral. Close to gray. But because this is so blue, this gray-green, we need to be careful of going too orange anyway on it. So let's try this. That's working very nicely, and it plays well with that purple. Don't you think?
I don't know. I can't see it well enough.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll zoom in on it. I need a little more quinacridone out. Okay. So my orange was sitting a little too far off to the yellow side for my taste. I just added a little quinacridone to it. Let's see what it did with the value. Still okay. So let's see how that goes then. If I tangle that in with that purple a little bit, nice. It looks a little dark on camera, but in person it's not. So you just got to trust me a little on the optical mixing. Digital cameras sometimes pick up different frequencies than what we see exactly. So this can look a little spotty, but the values look great in the studio. So I won't change it for the camera's sake. So what else are we going to add into this then?
That's an interesting thing. I wonder what you can do about that. Huh.
I haven't found anything I can do about it. So Julie, what's missing from our harmony here?
Oh, green.
We've done a purple
Well,
and
you've
an
got
orange.
the green. You started with the green, right? Or we didn't start with the green?
Well, we still need the green, because what we did is we had that gray-green that's our target, but it still needs to become part of our harmony.
Then you
So
need to have the
we
green.
need a green.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you
So-
need a green that
Correct.
is more saturated, right?
Right.
Yes, we can go more saturated with the green. Exactly. Exactly that. But I'll throw some of this orange down here as well, just so we have room to play with all that stuff, and a brighter green.
You made that originally out of ultramarine and yellow, right? Lemon yellow?
I think our ultramarine went too gray. I think I added phthalo into it to bring it up.
Oh, so it's brilliant blue.
but-
Brilliant blue and.
I thought you used brilliant green,
Yeah,
brilliant blue.
Yeah,
Oh, that's what I did.
yeah.
Brilliant blue. Yeah.
And
But
lemon yellow.
either way, I'm not making that. I'm not making that color now, right? I'm
No,
making
but
a
you need a
higher
saturation in that, right?
higher saturation, and also I'm interested in what's going to create a beautiful harmony with these other two colors I've already got, right? So I'm just finding my way through it here. So this is a pretty high saturation green.
Is Utrecht the only one that makes that brilliant blue, or do other?
They're the only ones that call it brilliant blue, as far as I know. It's kind of their brand name.
So what did you make? What did you make that out of, David? Just now?
That was a phthalo green, brilliant blue, and transparent yellow. So I made it a completely different way than I did the first time. But I
When you
wanted a
said-
little different color.
When you
I
say
wanted that
transparent
much clearer.
yellow, when you say
Indian yellow.
transparent yellow, are you talking about like Indian yellow or what?
Yes.
This is Indian yellow, yes.
Okay.
So you see it's just a little higher saturation, same value, right, as our target.
But it doesn't even look like the same value though. Looks much higher saturation.
That's
David,
a
what-
glare issue.
Brilliant blue, Indian yellow, and what was the other color?
The value's the same in the studio, so it's weird. Phthalo, what was it? Brilliant blue, phthalo green, and Indian yellow. That's what I put into that. It is picking up dark, but in the studio it looks good. So I'm going to have to just write it out, I think. See, I was looking for what purple I had mixed up so I can tangle it through. And I wonder, this is all I made of it. So I'll grab that. I'll pass that through that green.
Oh, that
With a little
calmed it
bit of
down
my-
a bit.
Yeah, and then I'm going to move that orange through it as well, right? So pick up that purple, green, and orange.
Did you blend it with that?
I tangled it.
Okay, so you didn't blend it. You still have pieces of it. Yeah, okay.
So that becomes the harmony.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. Thank you.
Let's take a quick look at what you sent me, Marion.
Yeah, I emailed it to you.
Weird, I don't see anything from you. I have something
Okay.
from Julie.
Yeah, that was Chris's.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's from not that long ago. Huh. Okay. I did hang up for a second. It's not a great
Let's see
image.
what David Gallup this is. You have more than one.
Yeah, I imagine if you sent it to the dgallup.com, I'll get it, but it might take too long.
Send
Yeah.
David C. Gallup at Gmail. That's the fastest.
Right. Or I could just go on Google Images and show you. That might be faster too. I go to Google Images and just do Dan Pinkham.
It's this one, right?
It's probably the number one that comes out today. So
I did it. I did Dan Pinkham Canoe. That's it.
I just put in Dan Pinkham. It was his number one painting.
So you're looking at the sky and you said it has 15
Harmonies.
harmonies?
Yeah, it's got like a 15
Wow.
harmony in it, right? It's got like every.
Yeah, wow.
But it's essentially, you know,
Just
an
do that,
orangey
huh?
gray here and a blue gray here and more purple there. So he's got progressions built into it as well, which complicates the harmony further because he's going, you know, he's got a value progression going. He's got a green to red progression running across below the clouds at the horizon, right? Green over here, pink over there. And finding his split bridge in the middle going across. Likewise, he's changing going this way as well. This is from a purple to a purple, but he's still got to navigate the split bridge of this running this way with the value change going here.
Yeah.
So.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Mm. Okay.
All right.
Are we meeting next week? We still have class next week, right?
Yes, and the
Yeah, we're
following
just
week.
picking up the week between Christmas and New Year's. We'll take that week off.
David, you're going to need a tequila after this class.
I'm sorry?
You're going to need a tequila after this class.
Not as much as you will.
David, one last question. Do you have Zelle set up on your,
Yeah, but I don't love it.
okay.
It's
I'll
not the easiest
just
thing.
I'll just mail.
Do you have PayPal or Apple Pay? Those work easier for me.
PayPal works? No, but then they charge. No, Zelle is free. So I don't want to be charged. I don't want you to be charged. So I'll just mail you a check. Okay.
However you like it. But
All
Zelle,
right.
for some reason, it doesn't go into the right account when they do. It's just kind of a pain for me. So I don't know why it's not cooperating, but it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't for me either. I didn't care for it.
All right. Have a good week. Be safe, everybody.
You too.
Stay safe.
Bye.
We'll see you next week. Bye.
Miss you.
We miss